All right, now let's jump over to The Mandalorian, and I am actually pulling this from The Hollywood Reporter. With this article right here, The Mandalorian fans turn on Season 3, a quote-unquote massive drop in quality. The backlash is strong with Mando as user review scores plummet, and some critics pull out their blasters, while Paramount's Picard surges in acclaim for its home stretch. Last week at Star Wars Celebration, Disney released a flurry of exciting announcements, such as an Ahsoka trailer and 3 new movies, which are really, truly going to happen this time. Damn it. Which are really going to truly happen this time. Promise. Yeah, like I said in the first segment of today, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. I don't really buy that these movies are even gonna come out. I think that they're just gonna quietly be canceled, and then we're gonna hear about a couple years later, oh, the James Mangold Star Wars movie just didn't work out. Like the Benioff and Weiss series didn't work out. Like Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy didn't work out. Even though they're still promising that Rian Johnson still has a Star Wars trilogy, yet no one ever says anything about it. Yet, while fans embrace the news, the crown jewel of Disney's Star Wars TV universe, The Mandalorian, was arguably having its worst week ever. The show's latest episode, Guns for Hire, so this would actually be episode 6. By the time you guys are seeing this, episode 7 of season 3 would have come out. Scored the drama's weakest fan reviews via IMDb since the neo-Western sci-fi drama launched 4 years ago. The episode wasn't entirely an outlier, as fan gripes about the show's 3rd season have been rising in general, with the series' Rotten Tomatoes user reviews this season plummeting from their usual low 90s perch to just 57%, and its IMDb average similarly, though not as sharply, ebbing downward. Critics widely praised the show's 3rd season premiere. Disney typically only provides 1 episode of The Mandalorian to critics at a time, yet some in the press have started to sound off as well. It's rather surprising blowback for a show that's been universally beloved since its launch, a rare title that is family-friendly consumer hit, critically acclaimed and generates awards love. The first 2 seasons were nominated for Best Drama Emmys. So what's happening? Interestingly, in adding some credence to the blowback, the complaints aren't centered around one thing, but are rather a mismatch, a miasma or mismatch of grievances ranging from plotting and dialogue to unconventional special effects to jarring cameos. A recent episode featured Lizzo, Christopher Lloyd, and Jack Black, which gave off campy Star Wars holiday special vibes. Oh God, the Star Wars holiday special and B. Arthur singing.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems.
Yes, there is a reason why the Star Wars Holiday Special has not aired beyond one TV airing in 1978. Even though I think that they should make that available on Disney Plus for anyone that wants to watch it, but there are ways that you can find the Star Wars Holiday Special on the internet. Again, I'm not going to teach you how to do it because, God forbid, if my copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special were to go bad, I need to be able to find ways to get it again, and I'm pleading the fifth after that. But anyway, CNN critic Brian Lowry wrote that the show is, quote-unquote, experiencing an identity crisis. Collider has been pummeling Mandalorian with headlines like, here's what's killing The Mandalorian Season 3. Digital Trends demanded to know what the hell happened to The Mandalorian. Forbes says the series fumbled a key storyline, and the quote-unquote, and the whole season seems to have lost its way with both Mando and Grogu fading into the background and no clear overarching story to follow or villain to root against. That quote-unquote lost its way line is recurring, with MovieWeb headlining, quote, how The Mandalorian has lost its way, decrying a sheer lack of anything to drive the story forward. Fans have naturally been even more brutal. Quote-unquote massive drop in quality declared one on Rotten Tomatoes. Another, quote, this show is transformed out of all recognition. No longer is it the man with no name in space, but the man with no purpose in space. Another, quote, the show is not Mando's show anymore. Plot points are dropped for convenience, nonsensical quests, and the worst, by far worst acting I've ever seen in Star Wars. that bit, the show is not Mando's anymore, brings up another chief complaint, as the season has been given increased screen time to fellow Mandalorian Bo-Katan, played by Katie Sackhoff, who also voiced Bo-Katan on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I believe Star Wars Rebels. I only watched the first season of Rebels, thought it was utter dog shit. And a bit less to protagonist Din Djarin, played by Pedro Pascal. One Mandalorian director, Rick Famu, I cannot pronounce his last name, so I'm just going to refer to him as Rick, suggested Din Djarin isn't necessarily the show's titular character anymore, which is rather odd. Quote, "Who is the Mandalorian at this point?" he mused. And so I think it could be anyone, but here's your problem, is Din Djarin has been your central character from episode 1, and now you're gonna sideline your own central character to push another and say, oh, that was the plan the entire time. Woo! Right? Why should anyone get invested in any show that you make anymore? It's like if season 2 of Andor were to come out and then and they say, oh, by the way, we're gonna follow Jyn Erso the entire time, and Andor is just and Cassian Andor is just gonna take a back seat, right? It's like, well, who is Andor at this point? I think anyone could be Andor, right? It's the same logic. It's just as stupid. Quote, "This season is not Mandalorian season 3. It's Bo-Katan season 1 featuring Din Djarin and Grogu, who just follow her around, grows the fan." I had to think about that one for a second. Din Djarin is now a supporting character, and Grogu is there for merchandising purposes only. And here's the thing about Grogu being there for merchandising purposes only. They're not necessarily wrong. Remember, the Book of Boba Fett dedicated 2 episodes to make it the Mandalorian season 2.5, and it was solely just to get Grogu and Din Djarin back together, because oh crap, Baby Yoda generates a lot of money merchandising wise, and we gotta get Baby Yoda back in the Mandalorian, because oh my god, we're gonna miss out on all that sweet merchandising money, right? Merchandising. And I know that that's part of a quote, but if you guys know what that line was from, leave it in the comments down below. And if you do, you're awesome if you know that reference, even if it's just minor. Pascal was splitting his time filming HBO's The Last of Us season 1 when Mando season 3 was being shot. Though the show regularly uses stunt doubles, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder under the helmet, with Pascal providing voiceover and post-production, this season The Mandalorian began more prominently crediting Wayne and Crowder for their work on the series. Nielsen data for The Mandalorian season 3 is limited to just the first 2 episodes 6 have aired. The show has averaged 856 million minutes of viewing, down a modest 14% from the first 2 weeks of season 2, but that's not enough information to conclude there's any sort of trend. It will be interesting to see the numbers for subsequent episodes. However, when the blowback kicked into high gear, and what I have to wonder is this 856 million minutes of viewing, because they're referring to it as the show has averaged 856 million minutes of viewing. They're not saying the 3rd season of the show has averaged 856 million minutes of viewing. So I have to wonder if they're lumping in all of the ratings from season 1, season 2, and season 3 all together. Because you're just saying, because with them just saying the show, they might be combining them to make the show seem way more popular than what it is. So they're saying that's not enough information to conclude there's any sort of trend. But if they're lumping all of the data together and just providing it with, oh, here's the Mandalorian, the show in total has averaged 856 million minutes of viewing, but we're not going to show you a per season. Here's what season 1 average. Here's what season 2 average. Here's what season 3 average. Of course, you're not going to see any sort of trend, because there's nothing to compare it back to. It goes back to the old Mark Twain saying, there's 3 types of lies: damned lies, and statistics. And someone is definitely manipulating these statistics. If I were a conspiracy theorist, in my opinion, these statistics by Nielsen are being are being manipulated. Again, this is personal opinion. I obviously cannot back this up at this time, but just from the wording, in my opinion, these statistics, these ratings are being manipulated. Some argue that issues with the Mandalorian franchise began before the third season. Spin-off The Book of Boba Fett was considered a bit disappointing, with its best-reviewed episodes being 2 Mandalorian-centric entries that were awkwardly wedged into the season. And I'm surprised that they're going back to Book of Boba Fett, because I go back to Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Most people say that Season 2 of The Mandalorian did not start to get good until Episode 4. Right, until halfway through the season. Now, personally, I didn't think that the Season 2 opener was really that bad, the one with Timothy Olyphant. But the second episode of Season 2 was god-awful. The third episode was, again, it wasn't as bad as Episode 2, but it was still pretty bad. And yeah, most people did not consider The Mandalorian, did not think that The Mandalorian Season 2 really started to get good until the fourth episode. But here we go. And while fans enjoyed those episodes, they were also controversial, as The Mandalorian Season 2 storyline was about Din Djarin searching for the Jedi to return Grogu to his people, only for that decision to be reversed in the Book of Boba Fett, because once again, merchandising. It was a bit strange of indecisive... I'm reading a little bit ahead. It was a strange bit of indecisive seeming plotting that led to conspiracy theories about corporate interference and gripes about the breakout Baby Yoda feeling somewhat superfluous. I'll say it once again. Merchandising. All you need to know. Weirdly, while all this is happening, Star Wars' decade-old rival legacy franchise Star Trek is experiencing the exact opposite phenomenon with its current TV offering. The third and final season of Paramount Plus's Picard is generating near universal acclaim after many fans and critics found the show's first 2 seasons messy and disappointing. They averaged a mere 57% audience score, the exact same as Mando Season 3. The new season's audience score shot up to 89%, and its critics score stands at 98%. Picard Season 3 has generated so much excitement that Paramount announced on Tuesday the show's final 2 episodes will be streamed in IMAX theaters on April 19th. There are only 2 more episodes of Mandalorian to go this season. Well, as of the uploading of this, there's only 1 more episode to go, which isn't much time to turn things around, yet a great ending could make up a lot of ground. They're both directed by Rick, whose entries tend to rank among the show's strongest. Come on, Mandalorian, you were supposed to bring balance to the Star Wars franchise, not leave it in darkness. But here's the thing. If the entire season was just shit episode after shit episode after shit episode, it ended very well. But how much shit do you have to go through to get to that decent ending? And is anyone going to go back and rewatch the season, just knowing how shitty the ending is? And then for those of you that are decrying, Mandalorian Season 4 could fix all the problems of Season 3. No. Because Mandalorian Season 4 has to work within the framework that's being set up by Mandalorian Season 3. Right? All of the stones have to be able to stand on top of each other. Otherwise, everybody would come out and decry that the show feels incredibly disjointed, and would probably lead to even further backlash than what they're already facing. And I'll end the segment off with this. In my opinion, The Mandalorian was a one-hit wonder. It just benefited from right place, right time. The sequel trilogy was an absolute fucking shambles. Then you have a Star Wars TV show that comes out and it's at least competent, that most people go, the show wasn't really that bad. But once that allure wore off, once time went on, I think more and more people are starting to adopt this mantra of, The Mandalorian was really just in the right place at the right time. And I brought it up in my first segment when they were talking about how these new movies are going to have to live up to the high bar that was set by The Mandalorian. that high bar was set by Mandalorian season 1. But if season 2 was bad and season 3 is bad and season 4 continues that decline, how many people are going to go back and re-examine that first season and basically with the mindset of, was the first season of The Mandalorian genuinely good, or was everything else around it so bad that it made The Mandalorian seem better than what it actually was?